lesson for this week is systems of linear equations into variables. So what is meant by systems of linear equations into variables? So in the past lesson, you were able to graph the linear equation into variables. So you learned that the graph of a linear equation is a line that either rises to the right or falls to the right. But what is meant by systems of linear equation? So when you say systems of linear equation, it is a pair or a set of linear equation. Okay, so we have two equations in the given set, like what we have in the example below. So we have the two equations, y equals 2x minus 1 and 2x minus 3y is equal to 6. So in learning task 1, so you are tasked to graph each pair of linear equations in one coordinate plane. So we have two examples here for your learning task 1. Okay, so for number 1, we have y equals 3x plus 2 and y equals 2x minus 5. So we're going to use the slope and the intercept of the equation in order to sketch the graph of the line. Of the equation. So in y equals 3x plus 2, of course, our slope here is 3. And our y-intercept is 2. So we are going to locate first the y-intercept, which is 2 in the vertical axis or the y-axis. So, andito yung 2. Then, remember, you need at least 2 points in order to form a line. So in order to locate the other point, we are going to use the slope. So remember, the slope is rise over run. So our rise is 3, so you are going to move 3 units upward. So 1, 2, 3. And run is 1, so 1 unit to the right since it is positive. Okay, so the other point is here. Then you can now graph the equation. Just connect the 2 points. So this is now the graph of y equals 3x plus 2. Let us now graph y equals 2x minus 5. So our slope here is 2 or 2 over 1. And our y-intercept is negative 5. So again, locate first the y-intercept, negative 5. So andito. Then, since the slope is 2 over 1, so 2 units upward, so 1, 2. 2 units from the y-intercept. Then 1 unit to the right. Okay, so the other point is here. Then, connect the 2 points now. So this is now the graph of y equals 2x minus 5. Okay, so for number 2, our equation is y equals 2/3 x plus 3 and y equals negative 3x minus 2. Okay, so in the first equation, so our slope is 2/3 and our y-intercept is positive 3. So again, plot first the y-intercept. So 3 and dito. Then, since our slope is 2 over 3, so you are going to move 2 units upward from the y-intercept. Okay, so this is now the graph of y equals 2/3 x plus 3. Let us have the second equation. So y equals negative 3x minus 2. So our slope is negative 3 or negative 3 over 1. And our y-intercept is negative 2. So locate first negative 2. So andito yung negative 2. Then, our slope is negative. So, negative 3. So since it is negative, you are going to move downwards. So kapag negative yan, pababa. So 1, 2, 3. Then, positive 1. So you're going to move 1 unit to the right from here. So 1. So the other point is here. Okay, so you can connect now the 2 points. Okay. So anyway, pareho lang naman na dadaanan ng line yung magiging other point nyo kapag ang ginawa nyo is positive 3 at negative 1. So, halimbawa, ang ginawa nyo na rise is positive 3. So, pataas. Galing dito sa negative 2. So, that is 1, 2, 3. Then, kapag ang ginamit nyo naman is negative 1 dahil yung positive 3. Yung 3 ang ginawa nyo positive, so to the left. Okay, so dito. So, andito yung point na yun. So, still, dadaanan niya ng linya ng y equals 3x minus 2. Okay. Let us now tackle the graph of systems of linear equations. Since in a system of linear equations, we have two equations, so the graph of it will be a pair of lines in the plane. So, dalawang linya. The graph of systems of linear equation may coincide. So when you say coincide, the two lines overlap or on the top of each other. So magkapatong yung dalawang line. It may be also parallel. So when you say parallel, they will never meet no matter how far they will extend it, or they will never intersect. And the graph may also be perpendicular. So when you say perpendicular, it will form a right angle here. And we have to right angle or angle that measures 90 degrees. And the graph may also be intersecting. So when you say intersecting lines, they have a common point. So the difference of this in perpendicular line is it will not form a right angle. Let us now describe the slope and y-intercept in each type of graph of systems of linear equation. So in our first example, we have the equation y equals 2x minus 3 and y equals 2x plus 1. So this is the graph of that systems of linear equation. So they form parallel lines. So let us now describe the slope and its y-intercept. So in y equals 2x minus 3, so our slope here is positive 2 and our y-intercept is negative 3. In the second equation, our slope is positive 2 and our y-intercept is 1. So, as you can notice, the slopes here are equal, or the slopes of the two equations are equal, but the y-intercept are different. So we can say that the graph of systems of linear equation are parallel if the two equations have equal slopes and different y-intercepts. Okay, so m sub 1 is equal to m sub 2, or the slope of the first equation is equal to the slope of the second equation. But p sub 1, or the y-intercept of the first equation, isn't equal to p sub 2, or y-intercept of the second equation. In the second example, so we have y equals 3x plus 2 and y equals negative 1/3 x plus 4. And as you can see, the given system form perpendicular lines. Okay, so let us analyze now the slope and the y-intercept of perpendicular lines. So in the first equation, we have y equals 3x plus 2. So ang ating slope dyan is positive 3 at ang ating y-intercept is positive 2. The second equation, so ang ating slope dyan is negative 1/3 and the y-intercept is positive 4. So as you can notice, their slopes are negative reciprocals of each other. So pag sinabing negative reciprocal, so negative nung kabaliktaran. So say for example, 3. So ang kabaliktaran ng 3 is 1/3. So ang negative reciprocal niya is negative 1/3. Say for example, 2. So ang reciprocal niya is 1/2. So ang negative reciprocal niya is negative 1/2. Or you can say that the two numbers are negative reciprocals if their product is negative 1. Like this one. So let us see. So 3 times negative 1/3. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. So 3 times negative 1/3 is negative 1. Therefore, the two slopes are negative reciprocals of each other. So the graph of system of linear equations are perpendicular if and only if the slope of the equations are negative reciprocal to each other and have the same or different y-intercepts. So in our example, so we have different y-intercept. So kahit pareho ang y-intercept nila, tapos ang kanilang slope ay negative reciprocal to each other, still, it will form perpendicular lines. Let us now describe the slope and y-intercepts of the systems of linear equation if the graph is perpendicular. So in our third example, y equals negative x plus 3 and equation 2 is y equals 2x minus 3. So in the first equation, our slope is negative 1, y-intercept is positive 3. In the second equation, y equals 2x minus 3, our slope is positive 2, and y-intercept is negative 3. As you can notice, the slopes are unequal or different, same with the y-intercept. So magkaiba ang slope, magkaiba ang y-intercept. So if that is the case, it will form an intersecting lines, or it will form intersecting lines. The graph of the system of equations are intersecting if slope of the lines are not equal and the y-intercepts may be equal or unequal. So in our case, the y-intercept are unequal. So kahit maging equal ang y-intercept, basta unequal ang slopes, it will form intersecting lines. So that is the condition. Let us have now coinciding lines. So how are we going to describe the slopes and y-intercept of coinciding lines? So we have the systems of equation. The first equation, x minus 2y equals negative 2. And the second equation, 4x minus 8y equals negative 8. So in the first equation, our slope is negative 1/2. Our y-intercept is negative 2. In the second equation, y equals negative 4x over 8 minus 2. Our slope is negative 4 over 8, or the simplest form of that is negative 1/2. And our y-intercept is negative 2. So as you can notice, the slope of the two equations are equal, same with the y-intercept. So in that case, if the slope of the lines are equal and the y-intercepts are also equal, the graph of the systems of the equations coincide. So that is the case. Coincide. So that is the case. or m sub 1 is equal to m sub 2. So m sub 1 refers to the slope of the first equation, m sub 2 refers to the slope of the second equation, and b sub 1 is equal to b sub 2. b sub 1 refers to the y-intercept of the first equation, and b sub 2 refers to the y-intercept of the second equation. So your learning task 2 is, you're going to tell whether the graphs of the systems of equation are parallel, perpendicular, intersecting, or coinciding without graphing. So dito sa task 2, hindi nyo na kailangang mag-graph. Okay, let us have 4 examples in this task. So for learning task 2, without graphing, tell whether the graphs of the systems of equation are parallel, perpendicular, intersecting, or coinciding. So para malaman nyo yung magiging itsura ng graph ng given systems of equation without graphing, so you are going to analyze their slopes and y-intercepts. So number 1, y equals 3x. For number 1, y equals 3x plus 1, and 3x minus y equals negative 2. So here, ang ating slope is 3, y-intercept is 1. For the second equation, our slope is positive 3 kasi ililipat natin yung y, then yung negative 2 ililipat natin, so magiging y equals 3x plus 2. So, ang slope natin is positive 3. Ang ating y-intercept is positive 2. So, let us analyze now the slopes. So, kung makikita nyo, m is 3, m equals 3. So, pareho sila ng slope. b equals 1, b equals 2. So, magkaiba sila ng y-intercept. Okay, therefore, so what type of graph? So, number 1. So, since the slope of y equals 3x plus 1 and 3x minus y equals negative 2 are equal and y-intercept are unequal, thus, the graph of the given system of equations are parallel. So, parallel yung magiging graph nila. Okay, for number 2, y equals 2 thirds x minus 2 and 3x plus 2y equals 10. Again, let us determine the slopes and the y-intercepts. For the first equation, so ang ating slope is 2 thirds. Ang ating y-intercept or b is negative 2. For the second equation, okay, so lilipat natin yung 3x kaya magiging negative 3x, then may kasama yung 2, so i-divide natin by 2, then 10 also divided by 2, so magiging 5. So ang ating slope is negative 3 over 2. Ang ating y-intercept is positive 5. So let us analyze now the slopes and the y-intercept. So as you can notice, so yung 3 over 2, so reciprocal siya ng 2 over 3, kabaliktaran. Therefore, negative 3 over 2 is the negative reciprocal of 2 thirds. Let us multiply. If the product is negative 1, so 2 thirds times negative 3 over 2 is negative 6 over 6 or negative 1. Thus, the two slopes are negative reciprocals of each other. So in this case, so kahit hindi natin i-analyze ang y-intercept, basta ang slope ng dalawang equation ay negative reciprocals of each other, so ang mabubuo niya na line o ang graph ng systems of equation ay perpendicular lines. Since the slope of the given systems of equation are negative reciprocals, so ang magiging graph ng given system ay perpendicular. Let us solve example number 3. So we have the equations for the system 2x plus y equals 6 and y equals negative 6x plus 2. Again, let us determine the slope and the y-intercept, then analyze. So here, lilipat natin yung 2x. So magiging negative 2x. So y equals negative 2x plus 6. So ang slope natin is negative 2. Then our y-intercept is positive 6. Here, for the second equation, our slope is negative 6 and our y-intercept is positive 2. Let us analyze the slope. So, magkaiba ang kanilang slope, negative 2 and negative 6. Same with the y-intercept, magkaiba. In this case, basta magkaiba ang slope, it will form intersecting lines since the slopes are not equal and the y-intercepts are also unequal. So basta ang case ay magkaiba ang slope, intersecting lines ang magiging graph ng system. In the fourth example, so we have the equations 2x plus 3y equals 6 and 4x plus 6y equals 12. So, ito ililipat natin yung 2x, magiging negative 2x. So, we have 3y equals negative 2x plus 6. Then, divide both sides natin by 3. So, magiging negative 2/3 x plus 6 divided by 3 is 2. So, our slope for the first equation is negative 2/3 and our y-intercept is positive 2. For the second equation, so we're going to transpose positive 4x. So magiging negative 4x, then plus 12. Then divide both sides by 6. So magiging y equals negative 4 over 6x plus 12 divided by 6 is 2. So the simplest form or the lowest term of negative 4 over 6 is negative 2/3 divided by 2 over 2. Okay, let us analyze now the slope and the y-intercept. So in the first equation, ang ating slope is negative 2/3. In the second equation, our slope also is negative 2/3. Then, they have also the same y-intercept, which is p equals 2. So, since m sub 1 is equal to m sub 2, or the slope of the first equation is equal to the slope of the second equation, and v sub 1 equals v sub 2, or the y-intercept of the first equation is equal to the y-intercept of the second equation. Therefore, we can form coinciding lines for example number 4. Dahil magkapareho ang slope at magkapareho ang y-intercept. Let us now proceed to learning task 3. So graph the system of equations. Since this is a system of equation, you are going to graph the two equations in one coordinate plane. This is almost the same or just the same with learning task 1. So we have the first example, y equals 2x plus 3 and y equals negative 3x plus 3. In the first equation, so ang slope natin dito is 2 or 2 over 1. Ang ating y-intercept is positive 3. So locate muna natin ang y-intercept. So andito yon. Then use the slope to determine the other point. So 2 ang ating rise. So 2 units upward. Then run is 1. 1 unit to the right. The other point is here. Then just connect the 2 points. So this is now the line, or I mean the graph of y equals 2x plus 3. Let us have the second equation, y equals negative 3x plus 3. So our slope is negative 3 or negative 3 over 1, and our y-intercept is 3. So again, locate first the y-intercept. So ang positive 3, andito din siya. Then, use the slope to determine the other point. So negative 3. So 3 units downward. So 1, 2, and 3. Then 1 unit to the right. Okay, so the other point is here. Then let us just connect the 2 points. Therefore, this is now the graph of y equals negative 3x plus 3. So as you can see, the two lines intersect at a common point. So ito yung common point. So we formed intersecting lines. Let us now have example number 2. X minus 3y equals negative 6 and 2x minus 6y equals 12. So in the first equation, so our equation is x minus 3y equals negative 6. So ililipat natin yung positive x, magiging negative x. Then, divide both sides by negative 3. So magiging negative x over negative 3 or positive x over 3. Since negative divided by negative is positive. The negative 6 divided by negative 3 is positive 2. So our slope now is 1/3 and our y-intercept is positive 2. Let us locate positive 2. So andito ang positive 2. Then 1/3. So 1 unit upward. Then 3 units to the right. So 1, 2, and 3. So andito yung other point. Then just connect the 2 points. This is now the graph of x minus 3y equals negative 6. Let us have the second equation, 2x minus 6y equals 12. So ililipat natin yung 2x, magiging negative 2x, then plus 12. Divide natin both sides by negative 6. So magiging negative 2 over 6 over negative 6 or positive 2 over 6. Then 12 divided by negative 6 is negative 2. So ang ating y-intercept ngayon is 2 over 6 or the lowest term divided by 2 over 2 is 1/3. And our y-intercept is negative 2. Okay, let us locate negative 2. So, andito ang negative 2. Then, 1 unit upward. And 3 units to the right. So, 1, 2, 3. So, andito ang other point. Then, let us now connect the 2 points. So, kung mapapansin nyo, the graph of the given systems are parallel lines. So, parallel lines kasi pareho nga kanilang slope. Ayan, parang ang slope nila na 1/3. So, the system form parallel lines. For learning task 4, we are going to describe the slope and y-intercepts of the graph of the system of equation. So, in number 1, as you can notice, so we have intersecting lines. So what can you say about the slope and y-intercepts of intersecting lines? So since the graph of the system of equation are intersecting, thus the slopes are unequal and the y-intercepts are also unequal. For number 2, we have parallel lines. So what can you say about the slope and y-intercept of parallel lines? So parallel lines, of course, we have equal slopes and unequal y-intercepts. So magkaiba ang slope, magkaiba ang y-intercepts. So for number 3, you can see perpendicular number 3, you can see perpendicular lines. So, ito yung right angle dito. So, in perpendicular lines, the slope are negative reciprocals and the y-intercepts based from the graph are unequal. So, ito, -4 ang y-intercept ng green line. Ang blue line naman, ang y-intercept niya is -1.5. So, they have unequal y-intercepts. Then, for number 4, you can see coinciding lines. So, nag-overlap ang red and blue lines. Therefore, if we have coinciding lines, of course, the slopes and y-intercepts are equal.
I came to win, to fight.